Please don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell for future videos. Thank you.
Hey, what's up guys? Houston here. And for those of you just finding my YouTube channel, welcome. Please remember to hit that subscribe button. Now, for those true YouTube followers of mine, I need you to get out your playbook because something big is happening. And what's happening is Biden is talking about canceling the 3 major credit bureaus. But the reality is that's not going to happen. However, something will happen, and it's going to be huge, and it's going to be to your advantage. So we're actually going to dive into why he's doing this and what's actually happening and what could possibly happen. So just check this out. First thing, he's doing it because of racial disparities, right? So within the Asian black and Hispanic community, because it's harder for them to be able to gain access to credit, okay? So he's trying to be able to say, hey, let's attack the credit bureaus to see what we can do to make them either change or we cancel them, all right? Now, like I said, stick with me because I'm going to tell you exactly what more likely is going to happen, and it had started happening last year, but you probably missed it. Now, here's another thing. It's talking about housing, okay? He's talking about housing. A lot more people, they having more challenges getting access to housing because of the inaccuracies of the credit bureaus and stuff like that. Now, this is a very big problem because the black community and the Hispanic community have been complaining about this for decades and telling them, hey, the system is rigged against us. Even in the Freddie Mac documents and stuff, it actually shows where they have been redlining, especially black homeowners, making it harder for us to own homes and everything. And again, because of that, that's one of the bigger reasons you've been having regentrification, because people in those areas of high crimes and stuff, not allowing them the opportunity to home will rent to you, or we'll come and buy the property as big investors and we'll rent it back out to you. So this is the problem that he's been addressing. Now here's something that you also have to understand. This is very big. Jobs, okay? Now here's where we're actually talking about inequality in terms of jobs. So you may be in a high crime rate area, right? Okay, you have a college degree, you've never been in trouble, you have an impeccable credit score, but you still can't get a job in your community. So you have big corporations that are building jobs in your community, but because you stay in that community, they're again are racially profiling you because you stay in that community. So this is the problem that they're actually looking at. And I told you that your zip code does have a bigger impact on your livelihood. I haven't been making this up, people. The numbers don't lie. So this is why I've been telling you all that in terms of your zip code, it will factor in. So these are the main top reasons that he's actually going out to the credit bureaus or trying to cancel the credit bureaus. But again, like I told you, it's not going to happen, but there's something that will happen, and again, it's going to be to your advantage, so stick with me. Now, let's really talk about this. This here thing, what they're doing, what is it called? It's called the public credit reporting. Okay, Public Credit Reporting Agency. That's what it's going to be called, okay? And with this here agency, it's going to be under the head of the CFPB, the Consumer Finance Division, okay? This is what it's going to be under, all right? So they're the ones that they appointed. That's the reason they had fired Trump's guy and put this new guy in to actually start overseeing this, because they're going to start really reining in where big financial institutions have been taking advantage of the poorer and middle class people for as loans, for as lending, for as how they manipulate their credit reports. All of these things go hand in hand. So this is the reason why they're actually trying to create this. But here's what you need to know. Let's understand where the credit bureaus is getting info. Let's look at where they're getting their info, okay? So many of us know about Lexus Nexus, right? And I'm also going to give you a big tip on what's happening with your TransUnion. So just stick with me, okay? So they got Lexus Nexus. Then they have PACE, okay? Now, PACE is your public access, okay? What that means is like all of your public records and stuff. PACE is because it's put in through like the government records and stuff like that. So PACE is actually picking this information up and they're selling it to the credit bureaus just like Lexus Nexus is. Now, we're going to talk about a few more, but just I want you all to understand this, because these two, and there's a third one that I'm going to tell you about, but these two here, these are your headaches, all right? Especially if you filed a bankruptcy or you have a tax lien and stuff. Now, again, with my FICO, and your FICO score, I shouldn't say my FICO, but with your FICO score, like they don't include like medical bills, they don't calculate medical bills and tax liens and stuff, okay? But here's the problem, like when you freeze your Lexus Nexus and stuff to challenge things, they'll do it, okay? But with PACE, because PACE steady states that they are not a credit bureau entity, right? But they're still selling your information. So if you have information dealing with TransUnion that won't come off and it's coming from PACE, you could sue them at small claims court, because they have no right to actually take your information and sell it. They're at a financial advantage to you when they're actually selling your information. So PACE is the guy you want to sue, okay? So like I said, with Lexus Nexus stating that they are a credit bureau or whatever, they will freeze your report and delete it. But with PACE, they're saying they're not a credit bureau. So because they're not a credit bureau, this gives you the reason to actually sue them. You can sue them in small claims court because they're financially gaining from your financial misery. So that's something that you really have to understand, okay? Now let's talk about these other guys. So this other one we're talking about is, you have, here's the thing about it, okay? You have over 15,000, okay, that are reporting to the credit bureaus. They're paying the credit bureaus to report to them, okay? And because they're paying the credit bureaus to report to them, the credit bureaus are picking up this data. So then when you reach out to the credit bureau and you say, hey, this information is not accurate, and they come back, well, we verified it, and they legally did not verify it. When they talk about they verified through resources, they did not reach out to the creditors most of the time. They reached out to either to see if it was on Lexus Nexus or PACE or something like that, the other third-party credit bureaus, to be able to verify that information. They did not directly go to the creditors and verify the information. So you have to understand this. And again, most people are talking about this Biden counseling credit bureaus. They're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. It doesn't make any sense for them to do that. However, again, the Biden administration, they're going to do something else. And again, like I said, I'm going to elaborate on it because they started it back last year and many people forgot about it. Now you have also, number 4, we got Lenovis, okay? You got Lenovis, and then here's another one that you have. Sage Stream, okay? Now actually, There's over 12 different bureaus that is actually providing information to the credit bureaus. But in terms of the major ones, you're talking about these. These are the ones that are majorly providing the information. But there are other ones, like if you had an eviction and things like that, or car repossession and stuff like that. There's other data points that are out there. And that's the reason that I tell people, when you're looking at your credit report, instead of doing, Credit Karma, you may want to look at your FICO. Because with Credit Karma, it's not going to pick up all the data points. All right? So you have to understand that. Now, that being said, here's what you need to understand. All right, when they're talking about racial disparities, okay, when they're talking about true racial disparities, all right, here's the thing. If you close down the credit bureaus, what happens? Then those people, they lose their jobs as well. And for many people, they're like, well, I don't care about them. They don't care about my credit report. I don't care about them. And I get it. I get it. I feel the same way. But here's the thing about it. You're going to create an avalanche, okay? And you're going to create a mess. And I'm talking about a lot of misinformation everywhere. So this is one of the reasons that, like I said, they're not going to cancel the credit bureaus. They're going to create their own credit bureau division, all right? But again, I want you to stick with me because I'm going to elaborate on that. So here's the thing about it. Biden's concerned about people getting housing. What's the problem with housing today? People are not making enough of this. People are not making enough money to even pay for housing. So if they won't give you $15 an hour for a job, then again, and that's only what, $120 a day, and your taxes are at 35%, again, you won't have enough to pay for housing. If housing is costing you upwards of 80, and I'm just flatlining an average of 80 to say 100,000. This is in poor rural areas. If housing is costing this much, and you're only making $120 a day, and you're only bringing home less than that because you got 35% tax, you still can't qualify for a house. And they're not even wanting to pay you $15. So that's not a solution. That's not a solution. It's not a solution to cancel the credit bureaus. Okay? So understanding that, and again, let's address the job issue again, like I talked about earlier. Because we're no longer in the manufacturing age, okay? So we're no longer producing anything. And because we're no longer mass producing anything, because of the EPA and air quality and stuff like that, guess what? You don't have enough qualified people to transition over fast enough. So you'll have to re-educate a lot of people as well. So that's the reason the gig economy is booming. Because a lot of people, they may not be qualified to work in data science, in the technical fields per se, right? So a lot of people aren't qualified to do that. So now they have to find another means of making a living. Again, here's something that's in the stimulus bill that I've told you all about this year, universal basic income. This here is going to be full-fledged. So I'm going to tell you all something. With the stimulus bill, it was 3 checks, right? Well, actually, they're going to actually end up issuing more money because they're trying to get to that universal basic income. Because if you're not going to get these people $15 an hour, the government has to step in and figure out how can we give these people more money. All right, and because of cost of living and stuff, even at $15, you're still living below the poverty line. That's the reality of it. So these are the things that are actually factoring in. Now let's talk about the new division that they will create. Okay, here's what happened. The feds, they was testing the Fed Reserve. Okay, the Fed Reserve. they was testing their own lending platform, okay, to lend out money directly to businesses. However, because their threshold criteria was too high, not many businesses were able to borrow the money. So they put the money back into the stimulus, right? But what they're going to do, they're going to end up taking all of these federal programs, and like with the housing, looking at federal jobs through the Jobs Act, all of these things that they're going to start doing, and it's going to be under the federal government. So they're going to let the credit bureaus stay public. So the companies that want to report to the credit bureaus for credit cards and stuff, that's going to stay public. But in terms of people that want to get housing, that want to get government housing or FHA housing, okay, that want to qualify for FHA housing, they're going to set up some new data points that would help you qualify for housing and everything. And like I said, when they're going to create more jobs that'll be facilitated through the federal government, okay? So in terms of relying on your public credit file in reference to with the major 3 credit bureaus, they're no longer going to be relying on that. They're actually going to be setting up, again, they're going to set up a new division that's going to have its own criteria to help you qualify for FHA housing or HUD housing. This is our VA housing. This is what they're going to do. So in terms of closing down the credit bureaus, no. Now, the good thing about this, what would happen with the credit bureaus, they're going to start making it easier for you to be able to correct the data that's on your credit file. Now again, because they're reselling your information. See, when you send out a letter to the credit bureaus, if it's not certified, they have a higher chance of throwing it in the mail, in which I tell people. And number 2 is that your data, once they receive that letter, that data is sent over to places like India, okay? And all they're doing is looking at these different data points, and they're comparing it to these other systems. So this is the reason I tell you, they did not reach out to the original creditor to confirm that you actually owed the debt, or if the information was correct. That's the reason you may pick up somebody else's address, because somebody else that stayed at that address, and they would put it on your credit file. So you may not know that person, but because they stayed at the address, they're linking that address with your information. So they're not fully cross-referencing the information to make sure it's accurate, okay? And that's the problem with the credit bureaus. But in terms of expecting Biden to cancel the credit bureaus, that's not going to happen, okay? But again, it will give you put you in a better position to where it'll make it easier for you to get housing through the federal government, because they will actually create their own data point for credit bureaus and stuff that they actually use to help you qualify for housing. And like with the credit cards and stuff and the lending, they even have their own lending. Like I said, the Federal Reserve has started testing this last year. So in terms of like right now with the feds, they even stopped like with the banks and stuff. They're going to start easing up on lending the banks so much money. So they'll even have like more third parties that will be able to borrow, they'll lend money to and stuff, to be able to lend that money out to more non-qualified buyers and everything. So I know that this video is lengthy, but you do need to understand that what's happening, because a lot of people, they're just saying, oh, Biden, no. You have to understand that they're not going to cancel the credit bureaus. That's not going to happen. But they will create a new federal credit bureau that helps you get access to loans and stuff for housing and things like that, and small loans and stuff. But it will be through the federal government lending system instead of you going through the public lending system from the credit bureaus. So this is Houston with three-way funding. Hey, I appreciate you guys if you would comment, like, and share to help the algorithm, because I'm really trying to grow this channel, and I hope that you done found value in this. So this is Houston with three-way funding. Thank you.